Well, Sharon, we're 1 minute after. I think we can go ahead and slow roll into the presentation while we still have a few people coming in, such as this one here. Let me admit that. AI response to AI
Email
email.
AI response. AI email. It's so true. Like I'm just ready. I'm ready to start seeing the bots interacting and developing friendships and forming their own user
Planning to take over the
groups.
world.
Oh my gosh, like you just wait. It's gonna be great. So speaking of AI, we get the
Yes.
absolute enjoyment, and I'm really excited about this. So when you said, hey, do you want to do a webinar and maybe we're talking about Copilot, like I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So today, welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining Joy and I. And basically you just get to sit and be part of our conversation because we can like fill a space forever and have a good time. So you guys get to just hang out with us. But today we're going to talk about M365 Copilot and really just some tips and tricks because I know a lot of people have asked us, what is Copilot and how do you use it and what does it do and what does it not do and what works and what doesn't work. And so ultimately, I've been doing a lot of these where we've just been talking about like what are things that I find super helpful day to day. So Joy and
Mhm.
I just kind of chatted. We put together a session and we're excited to share it with you today.
Yes, very excited. As we go throughout, I think when we get to the end, we'll probably allow mics so we can have some, interactive questions, answers, and all that. But as you have questions as we go through, please do put them in the chat. Valerie's here from our amazing marketing team. She's our director of product marketing, absolute rock star. She's going to be helping us with questions, making sure you get these resources back after the call today. But yeah, let's just have a good interactive conversation. And before we get to our scheduled content, a message from our sponsors, Orchestry. We are basically governance automation for your M365 collaboration environment. So today is not about that, but every day is about that, right? As we're going into this era of AI, governance is more important than ever. So if you have questions, if you happen to be looking for a solution, we would love to have a conversation with you. And we'll have contact information after, I wasn't after the show, Sharon, after the webinar. But if we've never met before, next slide, please. See, I said we weren't going to do that. Now we're doing it. My name is Joy Apple. I'm the Director of Success at Orchestry. I'm a four-time awarded MVP, and I have had the pleasure of being in the Microsoft space for 17. This fall will be 18 years. Um, it's never been more exciting, and I say that every year, and every year it's true. So many great things are happening in the space, one of which you can't avoid it now is Copilot. So we're glad you're here for this conversation today.
I'm so glad you're here to do it with me.
Thanks.
And Smarter Consulting is the business that I founded and I run. And Smarter Consulting is also a partner of Orchestry. And we do love the Orchestry platform and we love what it's capable of. And we love being able to help anybody who's trying to automate that governance piece of their business and assist with them doing that. So a little bit about me. I don't even know what's on my slides anymore. I've got so many
It's a
slides.
lot.
It's a lot. My name is Sharon Weaver. I'm the founder and CEO of Smarter Consulting. I have been in technology for 30 years. I've been getting paid to be in technology for 30 years at the end of this year. So, and I kind of dabbled in it for fun before that. So I've been around for a long time in the tech space. When SharePoint came on the scene, I'm like, hey, this is kind of a cool tool. And I've been doing it ever since. So, well over 20 years in the SharePoint space. I have kind of collected a few Microsoft credentials. I am an MVP as well. Just like Joy, I'm a regional director. I'm also an MCT. And I help out with a whole bunch of other random things just for fun because Microsoft really is kind of my hobby. So I have a good time with that. But if you need anything or you want to follow up with me, feel free to connect with me on any of the socials or LinkedIn or whatever, or you can also scan the code and you can email me if you want help. All right. So here's what we're going to talk about today. So we wanted to talk at a high level about kind of what M365 Copilot can and cannot do. So just like it's over general capabilities. And then a lot of people have asked us about Office specifically. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to just kind of chat about what are some of the successes that we have around the Office products. And I've got a few little videos in case, we want to have some kind of gap filler or if people want to see some examples. I've got those baked in. And then one of the things that came out of Joy and I's prep session is that at the very end of it, what we really identified was that there was a big need for us to discuss, areas around remote work. So like the challenges that exist there and how Copilot is really helping to solve and get through some of those issues. So that's kind of our topics. If you guys have any questions, like Joy mentioned, feel free to pop them in chat. And at the end, hopefully we'll have a few minutes to be able to just let you guys turn your mics on and ask questions.
I do think it's interesting. If you'll pop back to that slide for just a second, we talk about Copilot almost anymore. The follow-up questions, which one? There are a lot of Copilots. And I will say on mobile, I use the Copilot in Bing almost as a conversation buddy. We talk about things a lot. So as we go through the session today, remember, there are Copilots in these various areas and more are coming. It feels like every day, but some of them are going to be better at helping you with certain things. And we'll talk about that as we go.
Yep. Yeah. And I also like this image because a lot of people at which Copilot is which. And so the M365 Copilot is the one that lays over the top of the M365 stack, including Office and SharePoint and Teams. So that's kind of where it lives, is that M365 stack. All right, so high level, M365 Copilot capabilities. Like I said, this is the one that sits across that M365 licensing stack. So we think Office, SharePoint, Teams, those are really the big ones that, we really talk about. But the idea is that not only does it work within those tools, but it also helps us to integrate across the applications, probably in a way that you really hadn't thought about before. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper as we kind of go through this conversation. But most importantly, the things that we really came up with that we were chatting about, where this really is like the best for in a tips and tricks scenario, is email and communication. So the way that you interact with people around you, creating presentations like this one, which, by the way, this entire presentation, I used Copilot to create. Meeting summaries, in terms of like taking notes and follow-ups and action items and things like that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And also I wanted to put this link out here because the Microsoft team, it's kind of funny. Historically, we kind of gave them a hard time because they made great software, but they really didn't provide a ton of information for the end user. And I can tell you that that has really changed. This group has really done a great job of this adoption.microsoft.com site. Every single time I look at it, there's just tons and tons of more information. There's better things out there. So I wanted to put this link out there for our users and our attendees so that if you guys have questions or you want more information after this, there is a lot of free information at that adoption.microsoft.com site.
And it's kept up to date pretty darn well. I don't think a customer call goes by that I don't point them to adoption.microsoft.com. Valuable resources out there. Now, Sharon, real quick, we had a question from Sunny. Is there Copilot for Whiteboard? Is it part of M365 Copilot? And I have a link.
There is, and yes, it is. It is included, and yes, there is. There's some similarities to the Copilot in OneNote because OneNote and Whiteboard kind of have a similar development platform underneath. But there are some things in Whiteboard that you can do with Copilot for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Links have been sent out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I put these up, originally I had like all of these slides with all this information. Then I thought, this webinar is kind of short. Maybe it'd be a little bit more fun for us to just talk about it a little bit. So hopefully this will not make a bunch of noise because I did not turn the noise on. But I was thinking what I can do is I can play the videos while we sit and chat about some of the things that we can do with this.
Definitely.
So, I know when we were chatting, we talked about some of the different things that we can do with the Copilot in Outlook. And, the ones that I think about while this is playing and people are kind of seeing how cool this is I use it to draft emails. So sometimes you want to send an email to somebody and it's first thing in the morning and you're kind of tired or you're kind of brain dead or you're like thinking about 3 other things while you're doing the email. And I can tell you, I did this today. And I do it every day, is I just like brain drop, like I'm just going to take this unstructured thoughts out of my head. Here's the things that I need to tell them. I put them into the email and I use Copilot to generate something that goes with that. And it does a really nice job. I'm going to go back and do this again. It does a really nice job of just creating emails for us. And so I do that one all the time. This summarize an email, the video that you're seeing is really nice. So like, a lot of times you'll get an email or you'll get an email with like 57 conversation threads. And you're like, what the heck is going on here? The summarization works in both an individual email or in a conversation thread if you're using conversations, and it will actually roll that information up to the top so that you can see the highlights of the email. I don't know. What do you use Copilot and Outlook for? Or are you using it yet?
Oh my goodness. So a few different things. One, absolutely. Which does happen, sometimes success gets looped in after there've been lots and lots and lots of sales, pre-sales, technical, product, all the things. So yeah, I summarize quite a bit. I do also use it for drafting. I know towards the end of last year, I needed to send an email out to partners after an event. So like you said, I put in there kind of what I wanted it to say. And then I was like, okay, I need a better version of this. But it came back very formal, very businessy. And that is not me. So I asked Copilot to please make it more casual and friendly. Well, Copilot, and this sounds creepy to say it this way, but Copilot knows who you are, right? Because it knows your permissions access. It knows information about you. So Copilot knows in my people profile where I live. So I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for anyone that doesn't know me. So when it rewrote that email as more casual and friendly or approachable, however I phrased it, it started it with howdy partners, cowboy hat, smiley emoji. I was like, no, too casual. Dial it back a little, please. Right. But I do find it very useful. It's like, if you got those back-to-back meetings, you need to get things done. This is what I need to say. Yep, that sounds like me, done. And it probably reduces the amount of time I have to spend getting started with emails and making them consumable by at least 50%.
Yeah, well, and another way to do it is you can use templates. So you can actually have an Outlook email that calls a template. So like if you need to send out, a specific format type of email. So if you have to do a specific thing that has a specific format in it, maybe you're in the military, or maybe you're in the legal profession, or maybe you're in the medical profession, and there's something that you send on a regular basis that follows a specific format. You can also use templates for that with Copilot as well, and it's really handy.
Yeah, super, super handy. And I'm going to go back and look at our slide outline because I don't want to jump ahead and give away anything good.
Well, the next one we're going to talk about is PowerPoint.
Okay, so you're not calling out Teams specifically. So I will say this too for Outlook. Oh, John says he cannot see the presentation. Is anyone else having trouble seeing the presentation? If it's good for folks, if you could give a thumbs up reaction, I can see it. I can see it. No problem. Thumbs up. Perfect. Oh, John, I'm so sorry, but maybe you need to jump out and back in. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for confirming. We always get nervous. That old IT, it works for me.
Did you
want
to make a comment before we move to PowerPoint?
Yes, please. So at the end of last year, I went on my longest out of office vacation ever. I was out of office for 2 straight weeks.
That's like a year in the US.
I know. It felt weird, I will say. And I checked in with my team on Teams a couple times because I just needed that. But I was really dreading what it would be like to come back and catch up. Using copilot.microsoft.com, right? Work in 365 Copilot. I asked it to provide with me a summary of all emails, channel chats, and one-on-one chat messages. Then for the chats, it's like where I was at mentioned, and to call out anything that was a task, things that I needed to do. I was up to speed, rocking and rolling in maybe a little bit more than an hour. I knew what was going on. That was amazing because I had taken shorter vacations before and ended up taking longer to catch up because I had to manually go through my inbox. So I just thought I'd call that out.
No, I love it. I totally agree. And I've heard a lot of other people raise that tip too. And, so if you guys don't know about prompts, we're not going to talk a lot about prompts today. But if you don't know about prompt, there's an entire prompt library out at adoption.microsoft.com. If you go under the Copilot area, and also inside of Copilot now, you can go to the prompt library. And one of those prompts is to summarize any outstanding, activities or action items or things in your emails and chats that you might need to know about. And it's a really nice prompt that you can run every single morning. Just go in the morning, run the prompt, see where you're at, take care of the things. And that way you don't have to spend your entire life digging through your email inbox. That's
winning.
That's great, Joanne. Maybe that'll make it better for all of us.
Yay.
Maybe eventually we'll get to take vacations. The bots can take care of us while
the bots can do it.
Take a break. So PowerPoint, and we were chatting about this, and PowerPoint's probably one of my favorites. Because can you hear that?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Hang on, I'm gonna hit the mute button. There we go. I don't know why I did that. Just for fun, just to give us noise. So PowerPoint is one of my favorites because I don't know about you, but I spend an inordinate amount of time creating presentations for events and webinars and client meetings and trainings and just all kinds of different things. And what I have found, this was one of the very first ones I started using because people were originally asking me, what's Copilot like? And I'm like, well, do you use Designer in PowerPoint? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, it's like that, only way better. And so PowerPoint now has the ability to go in and use Copilot to create an entire presentation, create new slides, be able to do things that you could do manually, but like this is just going to save you so much time. And my tip for today is that what I do is I will create an outline, and now I'm going to add a whole extra element to this. I don't care if you use Copilot or ChatGPT or any other kind of AI tool, but I will actually use that to help me create an initial outline. I will then use it to go back and use that outline, put it in Word. I'll have PowerPoint reference my outline that's in Word to build my presentation. And then when I'm all done, I will use Designer to pretty it up and kind of give it a little polish. And sometimes I'll go back to one of many different, create my own images that I will then pull into that final presentation just to make it pretty. Is it work? Yes. But is it 20% of the work that I used to do in a presentation? Probably.
Yeah, that's fair. This was actually, here's a behind the scenes into our prep session the other day. When she said that she uses the PowerPoint Copilot more than the others, I was like, seriously? Because I had a does not meet expectations experience last year, and I hadn't really circled back. But part of that is at Orchestry, we have a very particular template that's extremely branded out. So that is, I feel a current limitation for that is it doesn't just know which slide to use for which thing, right? And that makes sense when you stop and think about it. But what I have been doing, because I've got 4 brand new sessions I need to build, and I've got to start presenting them in about 2 weeks. So I got to get on it, is I'm having conversations with Copilot about, okay, this is what I have so far. How can I make this better? What content? And it will give me an outline and suggestions on what should go on every slide. And now I can take and plug that in to our extremely gorgeous, I'm so glad I didn't have to build it, PowerPoint template that our amazing designer Robert created. And real quick, change a topic, but if you're not seeing the video, I'm curious if, since we're doing PowerPoint Live, if you see sync to presenter at the bottom, click that, because maybe, I don't know, maybe it's weird, but maybe it's stuck on a previous slide or something like that. Just thought I'd call that out. Hoping that's an easy fix.
And originally I had a whole bunch of bullet points in here, but frankly, I was really tired of looking at bullet points myself. And so I grabbed these videos because I thought it'd be a little more fun to kind of, for maybe somebody who doesn't know what's going on, to kind of see what it's capable of now. And so that's why I put these videos in here. It's just because I thought it'd be a little bit more fun for while we're chatting about these tips and tricks to see some of the videos.
Bullet points are overrated.
I'm trying to be a little cutting edge here and maybe not have quite so many bullet points. But yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from that is, if you haven't tried creating a PowerPoint presentation using Copilot, do it, because it's amazing. If you haven't tried creating a new slide with PowerPoint, do it. And if you haven't used the feature where you can put your outline into a Word doc and then say create PowerPoint presentation using the Word doc as the outline, definitely my favorite feature inside of PowerPoint. So try all these things. Don't be afraid. I know, like, it's only been 5 minutes and Copilot's only 10 minutes old. But like in the last 5 minutes, it's really learned a lot and it's coming a long way really, really fast. So maybe you're like, well, I tried that before, like Joy, and it was like, it was okay. Maybe go back and try it again because it's coming along nicely.
I'm going to show my age here, but once bitten, twice shy. Okay.
I'm like the total opposite. I go in the next day and I'm like, what's new? What's new? What's new? What's new?
Yeah. It's fair. It's a me problem. I'm the problem. It's me.
It's all right. It's all good. Okay. So let's chat about Word, because I use Copilot in Word all the time, like for so many different things. I spend a lot of time creating estimates and proposals and user documentation and help guides, training outlines. And I mean, I'm just thinking, like, there's so many different things that we use Word for on a regular day-to-day basis. And I think the thing is that almost any of those things, Word can either give you a starting point for you. It can, like you were saying, it can, kind of change your tone. It can clean up formatting. There's all kinds of cool things that I find that Word can do for me. What about you? What are the things that you do in Word? I think you might use Word a little more than I do with Copilot, but I still use it often.
I do use it quite a bit. So I'll confess something. I don't know if I should confess this as an MVP and a technologist. But I'm a really big fan of Notepad, especially because it now, has that perpetual save, and I don't ever have to remember to save anything ever. So throughout the day, I put all my notes in various notepads. Then when I need to take something and do something useful with it, Notepad rocks. Thank you. I'll take that to Word and I'll ask Copilot to put that in the format I want, whether it's, bullet points are the thief of happiness. Okay. They just are. They're not fun. But when you need to ingest information very succinctly, that's the way to go. So I'll ask it to format it, find references, and then I have a very usable product or asset that's come out of that. So that's kind of how I use it.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, and I'm thinking back and I've created a ton of templates now, and you can also reuse those templates. So, like, for example, if I'm creating a training outline, but I've already created a training outline that's similar to that, I can say, hey, use this and make a new training outline on this topic, and here's my notes. And I do the same thing. I use Notepad for a lot of stuff too, where I just like it's like a brain area.
It's the best. People always like, well, you mean Notepad plus? But I'm like, no, I'm not that fancy. Come on, I'm old. But I
Yeah,
am finding,
my husband is also a fine connoisseur of Notepad. He uses Notepad for literally everything, I
I
think.
love it. I am finding though more and more Loop is becoming my office bestie.
Yeah, yeah, Loop is definitely coming along. We're not talking about it today, but it is definitely cool. And if you don't know about Loop and you're not looking into Loop, you should be.
Yes, if we have time at the end, we'll dish the dirt on that.
So I pulled this one in, talking about Excel. Uh, is that So here's what I'm gonna say about Excel, and I put the one with Python in here because I want you to know, like, this can do all kinds of crazy stuff. So I've been teaching Excel for a really long time. I'm Excel expert certified, which it makes me like that's the level of nerd I am, Joy. It's that I like to talk about Excel for fun. I taught an Excel class 2 weeks ago.
We
And
don't hold it against her.
I know. I love teaching Excel. And the reason I love teaching Excel is because so many people get so much value out of it. It's
It's
things
true.
that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know Excel could do this and I didn't know Excel could do that. But the thing that I find that people struggle with is how do I remember all the things that Excel can do? How do I remember all the formulas? How do I find all the buttons? How do I like, there is so much in Excel that one person just like, it's so hard to keep up with it. I'm expert Excel certified. I can't even remember all the stuff that's in Excel anymore. But you know what? Copilot can. So if you have Copilot in Excel, the really neat thing is that you can go open Excel, go to Copilot, and you can say, here's the data that's in a table, analyze. You can ask it questions. You can have it create things for you. You can have it build stuff for you. You can have it write formulas for you. And now you can even have it do Python, which, by the way, guys, for anybody who's a developer, they're going to go, well, Python's not that hard. But for anybody who's not a developer, they're going to be like, I don't know how to do Python.
Huh? Mm-hmm.
So Copilot can even write code for you if you want it to.
I'm putting an Excel meme in the chat just for you, Sharon.
Joy's like way over here. She's like having too much fun with the audience over here. Oh wait, I have to see this. I have to see this meme. Yes.
No, when I
yes.
saw your all uppercase with Python, I was like, oh, here we go. But no, Excel is used for so much worldwide, whether it should be or not. Just go to your social media platform of choice and say something about Excel as a database and see what happens. I would say SharePoint list. But there is so much value, so much capabilities. And for someone like me that is still not exactly on a first name basis with Excel, having the power of Copilot there to help me, very useful. Ooh, I am seeing some fun stuff in chat. Okay,
I'm
okay.
starting to see questions. So as far as Copilot writing Python, my understanding from my developer friends is that it does a very, very nice job. And here's my answer. Here's how I answer this from a non-developer perspective. As long as it does what you need it to do, that's really the litmus test, right? Did it accomplish the goal that you're setting for it? Are you solving the problem you're setting for it? But my understanding is it does a very, very nice job.
I want to add
The next,
one thing to that, if
yeah,
I may.
no, go
If
for it.
it's doing the job you need it to do in a, what's the right, I'm going to say some words, they may not be the exact right words, in a responsible, within the confines of like sharing and permissions, is it accessible to the right people? Is it not accessible to the wrong people? Right? As long as you're following those guidelines of how things need to happen in your organization, boom. Because sometimes
Yeah.
we go do things in some apps when it would be better in another app. We just don't want to have to go justify it to IT. That's a whole other webinar.
Yeah, whole other webinar. But so the next question that I see in here is, what is Copilot Studio? Once again, we're not going to talk about Copilot Studio, but I will answer this real quick. So Copilot Studio is the area that Microsoft has created it within the Power Platform environment to be able to create your own custom copilots, or agents, as Microsoft calls them. So if you think about in ChatGPT, they're called GPTs. In the past, we've called them bots. Simple name. So you can kind of call them whatever you want, but essentially you are creating your own AI tools that live within the Microsoft ecosystem that are capable of connecting, integrating, getting information, managing permissions, and then delivering that back to your users. So Copilot Studio is a tool for you to build your own copilots. I'm looking over here to see if there's any more questions.
There's great chat about OneNote and Loop, and we may have to have a follow-up webinar all about that stuff. Sharon and I are house divided when it comes to OneNote, but I think we both have similar appreciation of Loop. So right tool for the right job, I think is where we land on that. Now
they're both great.
They're both. Loop's great. What about OneNote? Can it create training docs from my OneNote? I wouldn't think you would want to have training docs in OneNote, but I haven't tried to take content out of OneNote with Copilot to create training docs. Have you, Sharon?
You can. So what I do oftentimes is I will put my, like you just said, you put your little brain nuggets down in Notepad. Oftentimes I will put my little brain nuggets in OneNote where I'm just like blog ideas or unstructured data out of my brain. And if you do that, there's actually a Copilot in OneNote where you can go into Copilot in OneNote and you can go to that and you can say, use this unstructured data to create an outline, and then you can copy that and put it into Word, or you can generate it into a Word doc, and then you can use that for an actual formal, outline or document or whatever. But so yes, but like, like anything, it's kind of like you got to kind of part and piece it together a little bit depending on what you're trying to accomplish. I do see a question in here. So back to the Copilot Studio, do you need a full Copilot license to use it for each user? And here's the answer. It comes free with the M365 Copilot license. So if you have an M365 Copilot license, the Copilot Studio license will come with that for any user that has M365 Copilot. If they do not have M365 Copilot licenses, then you will need to get a Copilot Studio license very specifically for every user that is going to build a Copilot. You do not need it for the people who are going to consume it, because essentially that's kind of like a Power App. So if they could use a Power App, then they can use a Copilot agent that you've created in Copilot Studio. But to be able to build the Copilot in Copilot Studio, you would either need an M365 Copilot license or a Copilot Studio license. As far as I know, as of now, and I could be wrong. It's based on what I think. Okay, so this last piece, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. When Joy and I were prepping for this, one of the things that we really talked about, so now kind of pulling it all together, right, is that it's not that only remote workers have challenges, because people in the office have challenges as well, but things that are specific to remote work are this idea that we're all working independently in these little vacuums and these little silos, and everybody's kind of doing their own job. And you can't just turn around and be like, hey, Joy, you're sitting next to me. Can you answer this question for me real quick? Or, hey, Joy, can you send me those notes? Like, that's not a thing in remote work. Maybe I can chat you, but I don't kind of know where you're at or what you're doing. And maybe our time zones are different, or maybe our collaboration styles are a little bit different. And so one of the things that I found with Copilot that is super helpful for this is that when you combine everything together, now we're going to talk about the Better Together story. One of my favorite things that come out of it is if you have Teams Premium and M365 Copilot, what you can do is you can record your meetings in Teams, The Teams recap will do its thing and we'll give you the recap of the meeting. And then when you
Uh-oh. Okay, so you guys are still here. I think I'm still here. I went super still because I thought it was me. Let me message Sharon. Okay, say we lost you. Hopefully that's not because they're having storms in Orlando. I feel like Teams is having a bad day. Oh, we lost Sharon for real. Okay. Let's see what we got. I feel like I should have like music playing now to keep you guys entertained while we summon her back. Her internet just went out. Oh no. Oh boy. Let's see if she's got a hotspot. We lost her at Teams Premium plus Copilot. That's the same spot for me. Okay. Let's see. Apologies for this brief interruption. Don't you love it when technology lets us down? She says, give her 2 minutes and she'll be back. So thank you, Ruth. So just while we're here, who here, you can do show of hands, is using Copilot already? I see hands going up. People. Let me go to my people tab. All right, Dan, Linda, Neil. Oh, look at all the hands. Y'all, early adopters. I love it. Okay. So let's put our hands back down. Who here knows it's coming and it's like, we got to get ready for this because it ain't cheap. Let's make sure we make the most out of it. Danielle. Okay. I see hands going up. Perfect. Great. Well, I appreciate you guys coming along then. This is hopefully, and you can let me know again by additional show of hands. Have you learned anything new or found anything helpful out today that you either didn't know or you weren't sure about? Tamara, thank you. Hand it up fast. I love it. Very cool. Awesome. Okay. Good. It's not cheap and it is complicated, Ruth. You are so right. Sharon and I just got done attending virtually the MVP Summit. It was in Seattle last week. And you can probably guess what most of the sessions were about. And they don't even call it, when we're just talking about it, like M365 Copilot. They call it the $30 SKU, right? Because everyone knows what you're talking about at that point. So it's very interesting. Hey, she's back.
Yay for mobile hotspots. Yeah, my internet just completely 100% went out. I don't know what happened.
Well, I sat here dead still for like 30 seconds because it's usually me.
It's only because I'm on a webinar. Like, let's be right in the middle of the webinar and have the internet go out. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, probably because there's storms in Orlando. So that would be my guess.
I knew it.
Yep.
All right. So where you went out was right when you were talking about having Teams Premium and Copilot. You take the recording and...
If you have Teams Premium, it does the recap for you. And then you go into OneNote, and I don't know if you guys know, if you go into OneNote and do the insert meeting notes option, you can select the meeting off your calendar. So if you've recorded your meeting, you've got the Teams recap, and then you go into OneNote and you click on the insert meeting, what will happen is it will bring all of those notes directly into OneNote for you. And the really neat thing about this is that you have all the notes and the action items, and it essentially streamlines all of that information for you so you can go back. And the really cool thing to putting it in OneNote is now, back to your Bing Copilot joy, is now if I have a question about something, so you know how it goes, like a week, 2 week, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, down the road, we're like, wait, what was it? I remember us talking about that in that meeting. What was the decision that we made? Or what was the topic that came up? Remember, we were chatting about that. You can actually, if you have all of that stored in your meeting notes, can go to Copilot and say, in the meeting that I had with Joy on this topic, what was the decision we made about such and such? And it will actually be able to go find that information for you. This gets really important when you have so many people talking about so many different things and so many topics. Being able to have that clear information and streamlined follow-up is absolutely just super important.
100%. I'm trying to present in Teams to save your bandwidth.
I'll pull it back up. I think I can do it.
Yeah, it won't let me. It's mad. It's angry at me.
If it kicks me out again, then that we'll see. But I think we'll be okay. Let me pull it. Let me get us back to where we were.
I like Sam's comment that so many people don't understand the work that needs to happen. We just see all this bright, shiny, shiny, shiny. But there's definitely the work that has to be done to make the shiny possible.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and truthfully, like, it's really funny because I've been in technology for so long that I've done so many manual things. Like, I used to like manually go through and get rid of duplicates in Excel. Right. And so, like, when people say to me, well, that's a lot of work, I'm like, well, it's half the work that it was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Fair. Oh, Neil's got a good question. What's your favorite prompt using Copilot? I got to think about this for a minute.
I would definitely say my favorite prompt is either something to do with summarize this information for me. And I don't care what context you're talking about. I don't care if you're in a meeting. I don't care if you're like, people send me 50-page contracts to review, or they'll send me like this like big gigantic document that I'm like, okay, pull the parts out that I need. So summarize any prompt that starts with summarize, or give me the bullet points or give me the action items. Like, those are probably some of my favorite prompts. The other favorite prompts I have are things that will do things for me. So create a presentation, create a document, create an outline, those types of things.
I'm going to drop a screenshot in chat. And this is going to sound, no, it's not. It's not cheating. It's using the tool. So I'm on the copilot.microsoft.com page, right? And across the top of it, there's like 6 squares. The top right, highlight the differences. How many times do you have to compare 2 things? And it is just work. And I absolutely could do split screen on my monitor and just scroll through them and find it, but ain't nobody got time for that. So I can attach those, right? I can use that prompt. I find that very, very valuable to do that. But I also do really like, I like the ability to just honestly stream. I guess I send a lot of email these days in the role I have at Orchestry. So just to be able to streamline content creation, just start either this email, a Word document, or talking to Copilot about, hey, I've got this new session idea, and it'll give me that outline. And then I'll go back, like, if once, hopefully the session is accepted, I'll ask it to then help me come up with some promotional material for Twitter, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, social media platform of choice. And it'll do those different versions. I find that very useful. And you can do it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just, I went ahead and put that link that you were talking about So if you go to the prompts link at copilot.cloud.microsoft and then go to the prompts link, if you sign in with your M365 account, it will also save your favorite prompts. You can save your favorite prompts. And then when you go into Copilot, M365 Copilot in your tenant, it will actually give you access to those same prompts because you can save them and then access them later.
Yep. Let's see, we got another question here. Regarding the Copilot recap from a Teams meeting, if the recap contains inaccurate or incomplete information, how can one correct that recap? Now, if it's a transcription, there should be an edit button. Now, okay, we don't use those a whole lot at Orchestry. We have a different AI that ties into our CRM. So I use that more than anything. But I know for like stream transcripts and things like that, you can go and you can edit that and correct names, product names, things like that. So there's that capability.
Yeah, you can also provide feedback to Microsoft for sure. Because theoretically what's coming in the transcription should be what is coming into the recap. But I was looking, there's a link that tells you how to fix it. I might have to grab it and get it to you later. But once you go into the recap, you can actually review it and you can edit if you want to, like Joy was saying. But truthfully, you don't really want to do that unless you really need to, because what you really want to keep the sanctity and the accuracy of the transcript. The only thing is if something's wrong, if you do need to edit it, you can edit the information or you can edit the note. Sometimes I'll pull it into OneNote and then I'll clean it up a little bit because I'll be like, oh, this was really close, but there's a few things that were just a little bit, off. But definitely if the recap is not matching up with your transcript in some way, please provide that feedback to Microsoft so that they know that, so that they can work on better understanding how to make that work better.
And I'm going to put a just for funsies prompt in here. It's a block of text, and you will need to edit it. Hang on, I just found an error. Yeah. Boom. So this will look at your chats and create a Marvel superhero character profile. Why not have fun with it too, right? Especially if you're just now starting to onboard, starting to train people. What's the difference between Copilot and search? Why is one better than the other? When do I use what? There's a lot of conversations to have about the differences. Do not underestimate the power of gamification. If it's in your control to have these conversations, to be part of it, have some fun. I'm going to say something that might be controversial. Spin up a Viva Engage community. Highlight the successes. Well, why wouldn't I put it in Teams, Sharon?
It's probably going to get lost.
It's going to get lost if you do it in Teams. And all those notifications coming out of Teams are about work, and it's tasks that I need to do, and it's answers I need to give people. But if I put it in Viva Engage, the weight of, I might get fired if I don't respond to this chat message is gone. I'm not auto volunteered to get all those notifications. I don't have to join the community to go to the community, and I don't get notifications if I don't join the community. All kinds of pluses. Highlight the successes. Ask people to share their favorite prompts. What works well for you? Or, hey, I tried this. It wasn't great. Does anybody have any suggestions? How are you using Copilot? Because if we're going to be purchasing the $30 per user per year SKU, man, let's get all the bang for that buck we can. Oh, I could start preaching right now, but I'm not going to.
Well, and so we did mention the prompt library. And one of the things to think about in the prompt library is you can add your favorite use prompts, you can share prompts, you can vote for prompts. So one of the things too also is learn the prompts that work for you and share those, through a Viva Engage community, but also in the prompt library, there's the ability for you to go in there and upvote or share or promote prompts that are working for you, which I do love that. Speaking of that gamification and that collaboration and people being able to have fun with what they do, I think the prompt library features are really cool to be able to do more than just put them all in a notepad somewhere.
And it's a notepad when it does no one else any good. Which, I mean, it's okay to be selfish sometimes, but come on, sharing is caring. And Sam, I agree.
I just had to call back to your notepad.
My notepad is crazy chaos.
I mean, if all your prompts are hidden in your own notepad, nobody else has any access to them and nobody else benefits from that. For a long time, I have a OneNote dedicated to my scraps of paper, and I started putting all my prompts in there. And the really nice thing is now Copilot can find that information, and I can say, hey, I'm looking for this prompt that does this. And it's like, oh, I got you. Here you go. Here's the prompt you're looking for. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny the ways we find to make, not to make, but to use the technology in a way that benefits us in the way we work. I was showing our mutual friend Jay Leask a conversation. So I struggle with dyslexia. So I do voice input all the time in all the different apps and stuff. So I have a conversation with Copilot, and I was showing him the conversation back and forth. And he's like, and it was on a session, right? It was technical stuff, but just the way it and I were conversing, he's like, did the two of you share wine as you were working through this? This is almost like people talking. I'm like, I know, but
I mean, it's a twofer at that point. You get to have both of the glasses of wine.
Winning. And the content just gets better at that point. All right. So how are we doing? I see a bubble on the Q&A.
Yeah, I was like checking to see. I was just poking back to see if there's any comments. I do know we're kind of getting close to the 5-minute mark. So if anybody has any questions, feel free, pop them in chat or raise your hand, and we'll do our best to answer just as many questions as we can over the last few minutes that we have.
Neil, I do see your comment. We'll make sure we get the links out of the chat from today and the fun little Marvel prompt that I added and all that good stuff. We will get that out to you. Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you use Copilot with SharePoint?
There's actually new SharePoint agents that have rolled out that will allow you. This is actually a really cool thing. So you guys haven't seen this yet. If you go into Teams, you can go into SharePoint or Teams, and there is a Copilot agent that you can use in there to ask questions about the content, to do things inside of SharePoint. Yep, I see somebody, creating sites and pages. So creating sites is more of an admin task. Creating pages, editing pages, finding out about content that's on the site. Those are a little bit different. But you can actually say, okay, you want to know something, where is something, or what is something. You can ask that of a SharePoint agent. And the really cool thing is you can embed that SharePoint agent in Teams as well, so that you can go to Teams, you can ask a SharePoint agent about content that's on its site, and it will then be able to give you an answer for it. You got to jump through one or two little hoops to get it all set up properly, but it's a fairly easy thing to be able to set up. There are some admin things that are coming in the admin center as well around Copilot, and I would encourage you to go look for the Copilot updates around the M365 admin center for some of those things as well.
And another question. Are you referring to upvoting and sharing prompts in Prompt Buddy or Prompt Gallery? I use personally the Prompt Gallery that's at, copilot.cloud.microsoft. The Prompt Buddy is the GitHub app, I believe. I don't use it.
Yeah, the Prompt Gallery is the one that I was referring to, the one that's at the the copilot.cloud.microsoft, and it integrates directly into your Copilot subscription as well if you're logged in, because it can tie you in based on your login.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm not saying I don't use the prompt buddy because there's anything wrong with it. I just don't.
You don't code, Joy?
I don't.
Sitting there developing, making applications all day long?
No.
Well,
no, I am not.
We're at a couple minutes till, so if you guys need anything real quick, Smarter Consulting, we are modern work partners, so we basically help with anything in the cloud, modernization, M365, training, consulting, all kinds of fun stuff. We do solutions management, so if you need anything, feel free to ask us. We're also an Orchestry partner. Wink, wink, nod, nod. So I'm going to let Joy kind of talk a little bit about Orchestry for a couple more minutes, and then we'll stick around for any other remaining questions.
Literally just for a moment. So proud to represent Orchestry just for a minute here on this webinar. But as I said earlier, we do help with governance automation. So one of the big things when it comes to Copilot readiness is making sure that a redundant, obsolete, trivial, that rot content is no longer in your environment, because Copilot doesn't know you didn't mean that when you asked it for the information. So we can absolutely help manage life cycle management. So renewal and archival of content, as long as secure guest provisioning and guest reviews. We've got provisioning that allows you to make governance a thing that is a living, breathing process when new content is created in your environment through Teams, sites, communication sites, all the good things. If you would like to learn more, if you're struggling with governance in your organization, please, you can reach out, go to orchestry.com, hello@orchestry.com, hunt me down. I'm everywhere on socials, Joy of SharePoint. Happy to have that conversation with you. And for those of you, if you may have been limited with the chat or anything today, please do know we will send these assets out to you. And I see we have Bill. Let's see what we got. You need a site that you have admin permissions on. It might be complicated with the current SharePoint. Some of it is on the old platform. Oh, so that sounds like it's maybe on-prem. We use, yes, to create sites in SharePoint.
Yay! Yeah, Orchestry is fantastic for stuff like that. So I went ahead and stopped sharing just so that if people, want to see us and have any other.
Oh, thank you, Ruth. Oh, no. Now her hotspot's psych. I'm over it. Done. Well, thanks for hanging in with us for the technical challenges we've had. I think Teams was having a bit of an issue too with PowerPoint Live. But again, any questions around any of this content or Orchestry, please reach out. Thank you. We appreciate you all. I see some familiar names here in the chat. Thank you for being part of the webinar and taking time out of your day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are fabulous. Be on the lookout for the email. If not today, tomorrow. We got you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.